Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many
discount.
discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is all about SEO strategy. And with that, I have Melanie Gorman from Maryland, and she's going to tell her amazing story and the state of SEO. I'm really excited to talk with her today, especially with AI. Melanie, welcome.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Yeah. And briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into the questions.
I'm Melanie Gorman. I run a company called Crownsville Media. We're an SEO content creation and web development company. We work with mainly mental health businesses. We've done that for a long time. I'm a trained therapist. That's my background. So we just help a lot of really super cool people figure out how to do their digital marketing and be found online. So that's my business.
Interesting. And so talk about your client avatar. Who comes to work for you? Is it, because love the audience, they're doctor, lawyer, dentist, accountants, and who do you attract for your clientele?
So about 80% of our clients are in the mental health space. So therapists, private people in private practice, but also bigger mental health agencies we'll work with as well. We're agnostic on the rest of it. So we'll work with lawyers and doctors and matchmakers and coaches and all kinds of different, usually smaller businesses that are trying to figure out how to manage how noisy it is online and how busy it is. Marketing online takes a lot of effort. And so where should they spend their time and their money and their dollars? And so that's our ideal client.
Interesting. So we'll dive into the questions. One thing is you talk about the state of SEO and where it is with now we've got all these large language models, artificial intelligence. What is the state of that?
It's ever changing, but SEO is always ever changing. I've been in the space for 20 some years, and first it was Google, and then it was all of the rules Google had, and then it was social media and all the craziness with that, and now it's AI. The fundamentals of SEO are really how you get discovered in AI. So much of that hasn't really changed. If you have a good website where you do keyword research and it's well optimized for your keywords and you're writing content on a regular basis, you should be prepared it should work in AI. But all of the AI engines are different. Chat has a different way of managing what it brings in terms of its research and of course spits that back out to you versus Perplexity versus Gemini. So some of it's about really understanding how the models function and where they get their reference points from. And you have to be discovered in search first to be discovered in AI. So that's the kind of fundamental part. But AI it's incredible and it's everywhere. So understanding how to be found. 2 weeks ago, I had my first prospective client find me through ChatGPT, which was incredible. I did a sales call, and at the end of it, I said, "How'd you find me?" And he said, "Oh, I was on ChatGPT trying to figure out what kind of SEO company we needed to hire, and your name came up." And I was like, "That's incredible." So that's what you want.
Yeah, interesting. So talk about, in terms of AI and SEO, what every service-based business needs to know about content in 2025.
Yeah. Blogging is still the backbone of being found and discovered, right? The more you're writing content on your website and you're publishing it, you're communicating with Google, which is giving Google something to chew on and then share with these other engines, which is that's how the loop happens, right? So you write blogs and then you're found. So there's also some people that prefer video, right? So if you're a video person, YouTube is incredibly powerful. YouTube is less valuable for people that want to be found in chat versus people that want to be found in Gemini, because Gemini is Google's own product and they resurface their own YouTube videos. There's a model for everybody depending on the kind of content they want to create, but you have to create content, right? You can't just set it and forget it. build a beautiful website, hope people will show up, but you don't have to do everything. And I think that's I'm all about sort of common sense strategies. I feel like there's too much to do. We don't have enough time in the day to do everything. So you have to understand what you're willing to do on a regular basis. Will you write? Will you talk? Will you be in a video? And then there's an avenue for you to go down that it's going to work for your business.
Interesting. One thing that came to my mind while you were talking is how did because you enter in a prompt into ChatGPT and it spits out some data information. It gives like a website as a reference. How is this different than the search engines that Google is using?
In the ChatGPT, you can chat is really great if you want a thinking partner for how to figure out what you're trying to do. A lot of people don't even know what they're looking for. They'll go to Google and they'll say best sunscreen. It's so stinking hot right now. Best sunscreen. And you'll get a list of websites that have aggregated lists of sunscreens, right? So you could pick your way through it. On ChatGPT, you could say, I need the best sunscreen. I'm a redhead with freckles, right? I have fair skin. You can give it a 30-word query and it's going to come back with something that's really close to what you're looking for. You can fudge the words. You can say them backwards. You can not use any punctuation and somehow it's able to figure out exactly what you're getting at. Traditional search is much more specific, right? So you'll use 3, 4, 5 words. The average query in Google is 3 to 4 words. Right. The average query in ChatGPT is like 24, 28 words. Right. So we approach it differently and it's just different brains, like different ways of thinking. And so they both are incredible to use, but chat blows people's mind because of how it writes back it's like in your head a little bit. It's pretty incredible. Have you used it?
Yes. And it's actually before like Google was like 100% of my search, then it became in the early days, it was like 90%. Now it's about 50-50. I'll go to ChatGPT and query it. I'll see if it's interesting or I'll go to Google and compare what the ChatGPT put things together better, whereas Google just spits out a bunch of, but now with Gemini, they have the AI portion where it's actually a thinking and it'll actually try to understand what you're asking and put out a response based on that. Yeah. The other question I had for you is you mentioned blogging, and this is like most people are like on YouTube or Instagram or used to be TikTok, these shorts, Twitter. I don't see much like you say. What's interesting is you say blogging is the backbone of SEO, but I haven't visited a blog in probably over 8 or 9 years now. So is blogging dead or is there a better way? Is it newsletters? Talk about that.
It's not dead. So the value of blogging is that you're putting something out into the Google engine on a regular basis, which trains Google to come back to your website. So you're having like a back and forth conversation. When you're doing like YouTube videos, you're back and forth conversations with YouTube. So that's the search engine you're putting all your content in. And honestly, it just really depends on where your ideal client hangs out, right? So part of the strategy that I take with clients is, what are you willing to do and where do your people hang out? So when you're thinking about a newsletter, newsletters are sent to more of your curated lists. Like you've built up a following and you have something that people are interested in saying. The question people ask me a lot is about Substack. Should I do a Substack newsletter and then I could make $8 or $10 a person on the newsletter? And my experience with that really is you have to have something really powerful to say, right? I personally pay for 3 different Substacks, right? And there are things I want to read, right? There are people's articles and their content. They're usually producing at a higher level, right? So they're writing original research or they're really getting into something where they have what's like highly specific content about a particular topic. I follow one doctor. He will do a kind of a blog that's sort of, the 1,000, 1,500 words about a topic, but then in his paid Substack content, it's 2,000, 4,000 words, and it's all the research, all the links to go figure stuff out. So I think blogging is, the reason I say it's the backbone is it's how you're continuing to put out to the world the content and then give Google a reason to come back to you. So that pipeline you can't stop. That's the superhighway you're on. You can't get rid of it. So the other backbone people talk about is linking, right? I'm a big believer that the only links that actually matter are ones that bring traffic to your website where people spend time, on the website. So, the metric of attention is the really big deal these days. You put this video out, if people watch this video for 2 minutes, it's less valuable, especially if it's a 30-minute video, than if people watch it for 10 minutes. So the commodity of our attention and where we spend time, where we give our time away to other people, that's where the real money is. And so if you're thinking about a newsletter, you have to have a group of people that are giving you their attention. Otherwise, what's the point of the newsletter? And you have to curate that by putting content out to build a following, which is why the blog's important. That kind of all makes sense, right? It all works together.
Yeah. So then another question I have for you is, you say what your website is really saying to Google and why you're not getting clients from it.
So a lot of people think of their websites as like an online business card, which in many ways it is, right? It tells your bio and who you are and how you got to where you are, your services you're selling, if you have blogs or videos, what you're talking about. So if you haven't clearly identified who buys from you, right? Whether that's a sign up to the newsletter and they're paying with their email address, or it's a service that they're buying right on the page, or they're doing a discovery call or a conference call with you so that they can just get to know you and figure out if they can buy something bigger like SEO. If your website isn't written for that reader and what that reader actually wants, as opposed to, I'm so amazing, look at all my photos, I'm so awesome, it doesn't do what people hope their website will do. And a lot of people do set it and forget it kind of websites where they think, I'm just going to write it. And then I had a client tell me a couple of weeks ago, she said, I'm so glad this website's project is over now. I don't have to think about it anymore. And I was like, that is the wrong idea, right? If you are not marketing your business, unless you have a viable lead source, how are you going to stay in business? So your website won't bring you the right clients if it's not written for the needs of that population. And as opposed to, I want to sell this, I want to sell SEO, I want everybody to buy SEO. Nobody's looking for SEO, it's useless. So you have to think about your website in terms of what the consumer wants and needs, and maybe even less so what you want to sell. And if what you're selling aligns with what they need, great, you're going to have a really successful experience in your marketing course. But if nobody's looking for what you're selling, you're just Shakespeare in a closet. Right? No one's going to find you because you're amazing, but nobody even knows to look for you. So you have to meet people in the middle.
So the other question I have for you is, because you talked about like SEO from blogging and then like SEO from YouTube. What about, because increasing number of people are turning to podcasts. So how do you optimize your podcast SEO?
That's a great question. So the first thing you have to think about is what platform your podcast is published on, right? So if you're on Apple, you're optimizing on Apple. If you're on Spotify, you're on Spotify, right? Don't transcribe your podcast and do the 47-page document with minute and 11 seconds, minute 25 seconds. I spoke, you spoke. Don't do that. Your podcast has to have relevance within where it's being promoted. And you really still have to figure out who wants your podcast. So what is the angle of your show? What is the thing your show is really talking about? What is it that people need and why would they listen to it? One of my clients is a doctor. She's in Texas too. And she has been telling me that she's been listening to business podcasts. And she's a physician. She's a surgeon, actually. She doesn't need to listen to business podcasts. So why is she doing it? She wants to grow her career and she wants to learn how to give a better presentation, whether it's something as serious as Grand Rounds or something as in a paper, or it could be with her daughter's school where she's talking about what she does. Being able to express yourself in a way that people listen is a very big skill. So you can be the most highly educated person on the world, but if you can't communicate in a way that people are willing to listen, no one's going to hear you. So she's been listening to podcasts about how to give a better presentation, and it's working. So podcasts have the opportunity to hook into audiences that want to listen. I listen to podcasts when I drive my car, right? So I have 2 kids and I'm like a human taxi cab these days, right? So my 16-year-old needs a ride every day somewhere. And the way that I make that work for me is I listen to podcasts in the car. So you can't read a blog in the car. You can't. So people that are really high performers that want to maximize their time, you can market to them in places where they're looking for podcasts. So all of your podcasts should have great titles, great descriptions. They should have all the basic SEO stuff so people understand right at the beginning of a podcast title what the episode is about. I mean, if you're asking me my 2 cents of advice, never start your title as episode 34 or episode 35. Start with the title, tell them what it is, and think about why. Spend a couple minutes thinking about why someone would want to listen. Why do they care about the topic you're talking about? Because the way we search, the way we think, right? I need, I want. And chat gives, let's get back to AI for a second. Chat gives such a great bit of insight into how our brains don't always know what we're looking for. So we spill out 2 paragraphs worth of stuff and it goes, oh, so what you mean is blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, that's it. That's the thing chat impresses me with the most. Marketing your podcast, where are you, what platforms are you on? How do those platforms allow you to do SEO? Titles, descriptions, character limits. Can you have keywords? If you have keywords, put them at the front, right? Don't market based on episode number. Your audience could care less. If it's episode 175, they care about what you're talking about. So lean into them and your marketing will eventually take off. And like traditional SEO, cluster around topics, right? So if you were interviewing, let's say you wanted to be a podcaster that had a really great channel on all things SEO and AI, I should be just one person you're interviewing. You should interview lots of people who have different opinions about this stuff, and then you become a hub for the topic. I tell people it's better to be a box of 8 crayons than a box of 64. It's certainly better than a box of 128 because it's too much to market. So start smaller and then you'll get further faster.
Interesting. Another question I have for you is, what about local SEO? Talk about that.
So local SEO is really about geo-targeting. I'm on my phone and I'm like, I need a contractor near me. So it's really using the GPS of your phone and the GPS of where the person's doing the search and trying to bring those 2 things together. So traditionally it is local, right? So it's not virtual businesses, it's local businesses. And that could be Dunkin' Donuts. It could be a franchise, right? Or it could be, anything brick and mortar that you would walk into. That's the traditional thing with local SEO. The pandemic opened it up for virtual businesses. So people have home businesses and they have service-based businesses. Google still wants, via the Google My Business platform, they still want you to have an address, a phone number. So your local search is targeting a 10-mile radius from where someone does their search. And it's how you get found in the Google map when someone says whatever near me. And so it's very important for businesses that want to geo-target, that have like a doctor's office that sees patients inside the office, right? It's very important for that. It's less important for national businesses, right? If you offered your services all the way, it's international and anybody around the world could find you. It's harder to get really good local traffic to your business unless you have a local home office, right? And then you can do it. And all of it flows through Google My Business, which is the free tool we all use. So.
Yeah. If people wanted to learn more and optimize their SEO for their marketing, their business, their website, how can they get in contact with you?
Best thing is to visit my website. It's Crownsville Media. I'm sure you'll put a link in the little thing at the bottom. CrownsvilleMedia.com. There's only one Crownsville in the whole US. That was my secret spidey sauce. Anyways, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Excellent. I really enjoyed this and thanks so much for coming on.
You bet. Thank you again.